This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are all over the globe. Welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go, the world's greatest radio. You are in touch now with the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and, of course, me. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is radio the way it should be heard. If you're not familiar with this program, we are on every Wednesday from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. Eastern Time in the Northwestern Hemisphere, as Mr. Fuller refers to it. We've been taught that it's been called the United States, but that's when we are on from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. Eastern Time zone. Someone asked me about that, so I wanted to make sure we got that cleared up. If you do not know Mr. Fuller, and you are new to the program, he is the author of the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. It is a compensatory counter-racist code. And as a matter of fact, he has a revised, expanded edition that is now out, and it is simply a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, which is white supremacy. And he also has a counter-racist codified word guide, which is an addition to the contemporary, or rather the compensatory code system concept book. And these books are needed if you are to study and learn or to understand racism, as he says at the beginning of every program and even in the beginning of this book. If you do not understand racism, what it is and how it works, how you won't really you would just be in a state of confusion. Now, you can get this book or these books by going to his website, which is producejustice.com. And to my knowledge, that is the only authorized site where you can get a copy or your copies of this word, of the word guide, and also of the book, which we are going to get into it. One of the things that Mr. Fuller always says, and we are learning more and more because we're all still learning, is to stand by your work. He has said that numerous times on this show, over and over. Stand by your work. And what we wanted to get in today, Mr. Fuller, first of all, good morning. And how does this day find you this morning, Mr. Fuller?
I'm still learning.
You are still learning. That is very, very good. The topic today is going to be stand by your work. And I have on here, Mr. Fuller is going to address copyrights, infringements, and all that on of his work. And it has come to my attention that there's some stuff that is going on, and hopefully we will get more in depth into it, and so that you can learn and know what to do. Mr. Fuller, stand by your work is the topic today. And before we go directly into it, I want to lead off the program with something that you may want to address yourself.
Well, I want to address a email that I received from someone talking about friendship with white people.
Okay.
There seems to be some confusion about that. Should you consider a white person a friend, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't understand exactly what the essence of the question is, but the part
that I'm addressing is, what about becoming friends with them, meaning white people? Isn't that how it all starts? And that is, and it refers to being friends with white people leads to the extermination of black people, non-white people. I think that's what the person is implying in the email that was sent me. I didn't quite understand the question in essence, but I will address the word friendship and friend as it is used in the textbook for victims of racism. And in the textbook for victims of racism, I just broadly say, do not use the word friend to apply to any person that you interact with during the existence of the system of white supremacy. That's just a suggestion. And use the word instead, associate or affiliate or someone, the expression someone that you know or interact with. Associate, affiliate, co-worker, whatever. But avoid using the word friend during the existence of white supremacy to apply it to anyone, white or non-white. Now, why do I say this? Well, the reason that I give, compensatory reason, based on what I say is logic, during the existence of the system of white supremacy, and according to compensatory counter-racist logic, there's no way for a non-white person to know for certain what is or what is not a so-called friend, or to know for certain the qualifications for friendship. Because according to the same logic, a so-called friendship must be the same as a quality relationship. Meaning what? What is a quality relationship? A flawless relationship. A relationship that's absolutely devoid of flaws. In other words, completely dependable. But, even their old blues songs, that's sung by many blues singers down through the years, saying, my friends found out I didn't have any money, and they thought that was funny. Well, how can a friend think that by you being broke, that's funny, and at the same time, be a friend? We use that word like we use many, many words, too loosely. When you say a person is a friend, that goes almost beyond belief. That word should have that kind of connotation, almost beyond belief. That a friend, you are a friend in a system that is designed to make people interact in a way that people interact like they do on this planet, everywhere, every day, all day. And out of all of this confusion and chaos and whatnot, you actually have a friend. And what am I talking about? Within what? Within the system of white supremacy, which is the dominant government of the entire planet. And the system of white supremacy is all about misuse of people, abusing people, showing a false face, pretending to be a friend when you got another agenda altogether, or unreliability. Friends sometimes, maybe, depending on what the weather is or what the conditions are, or whether or not you said something this morning that didn't quite ring true with me, so therefore you're not my friend anymore until I think about it for a little while, or maybe a couple of weeks, then I'll get back to you. Now you're my friend again. It's shabby. It's shabby. It's shabby. It's shabby. Nothing should be shabby. We have too much shabbiness in everything throughout this entire planet. All the relationships are shabby. All of them. tacky at very best. This is the term that the code book uses. The white supremacist system makes people interact with each other in a manner that is what? The 3 T's. Tacky, trashy, and or terroristic. And that dominates the interaction between people all over the planet, no matter what the reasons are on the surface or what the reasons are that are underlying. It doesn't get any better than tacky. All relationships are tacky. And you can't have friendship in a tacky tacky relationship, in tacky interactions between people, or trashy interactions between people, and certainly not terroristic interactions between people. But people use that word friend all the time. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. This is my friend. Well, we fall out sometimes, but we all right with each other. No. What do you mean fall out? What do you mean fall out? Friends don't fall out, ever, ever, ever. That's what that should mean. We should stop being sloppy with our language or in our interactions with people or in what we envision or should envision as being the one thing that we should be all trying to head for. That's white people, non-white people, all people throughout this entire planet. And that is the concept and the practice of being universal men and universal women. Every person on the planet. Now, what does that universality mean? It means you're in total and complete, absolute constructive harmony with everything, the environment, with each other, with everything, and definitely with the concept of humanity. Totally in lockstep with that. Totally, not part-time or anything like that. In total lockstep in everything that you think, everything that you say, and everything that you do 24 hours a day. Never a discouraging word, as the old country and western song says. Always, everything being constructive. That should be the goal. But we can't get there as long as we keep taking these substitutes for things like having this low criteria for friendship. Mm-hmm. So until we get that, we'll just say, oh, you have associates, or you have people that you interact with, or you have coworkers. But friends, well now, friendship, hey, that's almost like a forbidden word. Mm-hmm. That should be right in that category.
Yes, sir. So when you and Dr. Frances Cress Welsing were on tour or collaborated with each other at the times that you did, you would consider her your what?
Associate and fellow, and more than anything in the system of white supremacy, what I am to all non-white people, a fellow victim. That's it. Just victims. Prisoners of war. Mm-hmm. Huddled together. Thrown together. Whether we like it or not.
So when the movie...
Doesn't have anything to do with liking. On the slave ship, mm-hmm. Didn't have anything to do with what tribal member liked the other tribe, anything like that. Mm-hmm. The white supremacists didn't care. And we owned that slave ship.
Okay.
Because slavery is what? Slavery is any kind of mistreatment. And are people being mistreated right this minute? Yes. So are people slaves right this minute? Yes. Anybody who is being mistreated and can't stop the mistreatment is a slave to the person who is doing the mistreatment. Okay. That is pure logic.
So in the movie The Shawshank Redemption that you often refer to, Andy Dufresne, and I guess his name, his associate in there, I forgot with the part that Morgan Freeman played. I forgot the name that he was given. The kindness that Andy Dufresne showed him what was that?
Oh, they were just associates.
They were just associates.
Particularly,
again.
I mean, with one being white and one being non-white.
Yeah, Red was the character. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, and assuming that the whole world is dominated under the system of white supremacy. I mean, whatever Red had gotten in trouble with to get him in the penitentiary in the first place, I mean, you got to take that in consideration. Red is black, and Andy Dufresne is white. There's a huge difference right there. Huge, an ocean of difference. Because Andy Dufresne, even though they were inmates in the prison, Andy Dufresne, even in prison, would have a little more credibility with the warden than Red when it came to certain things. And one thing, they would have that camaraderie of Warden Norton being white and Andy being white, even in a penitentiary situation. That makes a difference, too.
Okay.
Simply because Norton works in a white society. I mean, in a white-dominated setting.
Okay.
White supremacy, that is.
Okay. Talktainment Radio is a 24/7, no-charge, worldwide broadcasting facility that have hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's one that I'd like to share with you, and it's called It's Your Time to Travel. Host Ricky Tyus of Tyus Tours and Travel and Perrine Hill of Perrine and Associates, specializing in special events and tours, have both been in the travel industry for over 20 years. Both Tyus Tours and Travel and special events and tours offer individuals with many travel options. Using their expertise, they will find amazing getaway and vacation packages full of fun and excitement that will provide you with 4- and 5-star guest experiences that exceed your expectations, but not your budget. They will discuss and share a variety of destinations around the world to suit every dream and every budget. Now, this particular show broadcast on Tuesdays, and it is exclusive on TalkTainmentRadio.com, and that's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and our topic today has been Stand by Your Work. If you would like to call in, you can do so by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, MrBobby@gmail.com. Mr. Fuller, you've often referred to your, in many, even on this program, and in many statements, I heard you say stand by your work. And I bring that up because it has come to my attention that some people out in the, I don't know if it's called the web or whatever it is, but are doing some things in regards to the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. Even taking snippets of this program on TalkTainmentRadio.com, and I don't understand it all the way, but making money off of it and not giving you credit or even residuals, monetary residuals to that. Could you address that copyrights and infringement of your work?
Well, I'm just going to say that there is such a thing, and as copyright, it's right on the cover.
And your book is copyrighted.
Right. I mean, but my work, all of my works are, including being on the broadcast. I've been told on any broadcast that's copyrighted. Now, so that gets into what we call the legal matters. So all I'm requesting people to do is go by the legalities. And anything that anybody's doing that's not legal, And anything that anybody is doing that has to do with not compensating me, if I'm due compensation, then they should stop doing it. I don't authorize to do something where compensation is due me by law or even by general practice. Because I do need, help myself, and I like to help myself, and I don't solicit donations. And so, therefore, I have to put out money myself in order to do what I do. Excuse the background.
Yes, that's all right.
Right, sounds. I have to put out money myself in order to do the things that I do. And so, therefore, anyone who wants to be of help to me, like some people say that they're trying to help me, but if they're running some enterprise where they have another agenda that is illegal, like copyright violation or issues of plagiarism or issues of what they call intellectual piracy, these things are against the law. Not only that, they diffuse the one thing that must be had in the presentation of compensatory counter-racist logic, and that is it must have clarity and focus. And anybody who takes snippets from the compensatory concept and use it in such a way that it distorts the message, or the message is not clear, or people become confused throughout the world about who is saying what. In other words, if Neely Fuller is saying it, Neely Fuller is saying it. And somebody should say, Neely Fuller is saying this. And if someone says, now this is what Neely Fuller says, and I don't agree with it, or I'm going to modify what he said a little bit, then the person should say that. And then the person should identify him or herself by whatever name he or she uses that is being accepted by the general public. So that you can do what? Not have confusion. And this is very important because the white supremacists thrive on confusion. And they will see what other people are doing. They will see what I'm doing. And they'll say, I'm going to join this. And nobody's going to even know that I am a part of what is going on.
Okay.
And they were very systematically, and they are highly skilled at doing it. They're much better doing it than any of the non-white people out here. They're much better at disseminating information and getting information of the kind that they want than I could ever be.
Yes. Okay.
Or any other non-white people anywhere on the planet.
Yes.
And the next thing you know, little by little, they'll say, oh, yes, I mean, these people, you got some people here who are helping to get Mr. Fuller's word out and all like that, which is true. Dr. Wilson certainly was doing it, But then, who knows? You might have some people who are pretending to help, and these would be the white supremacists for sure, and they'll say, hey, we'll just join the crowd, just like we do sometimes when black people have street demonstrations.
Yes.
They'll get together and start out down the street, and they'll say Black Lives Matter and whatnot. Next thing you know, you got some white people who are joining in. Now, some of them have the correct intentions, I guess, and then some of them don't.
Yes.
Some of them are going to get in there and start throwing rocks and then blame it on the black people.
Yes, this is
all
true.
All right?
This is true.
And somebody gets hit in the head and killed and all like that, and they say, you see, that's the kind of people, that's why we do what we do with them, because they don't know how to act. They can't control themselves. They're a bunch of wild animals, just like we have always said that they are, and blah, 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 blah. And it was very skillfully orchestrated by white supremacists who joined in under the guise of, oh, I just discovered, I had a eureka moment, that you people have a problem, and I should help you to solve your problem. And so I'm joining you. And they'll do that on the internet, too.
Yeah, they will. Let's take a call here. Line number 1, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Go ahead with your question.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Fuller. Good morning, Mr. Bobby. My question is, in your book, you've written that as long as white supremacy exists, any reaction to its existence by a non-white person can be considered a form of suicide. I recently woke up to what you just said as far as demonstrations on the highways and whatnot in Charleston, North Carolina. Is this a form of suicide?
The question is a form of suicide in resisting racism?
In reacting to racism and white supremacy, and is this helping the white supremacists in refining white supremacy as we react to it?
Well, just broadly speaking, I really don't know what will work against white supremacy. That's why my entire work is just making suggestions, trying to find out what will work and what won't. And each individual, all of the work that I have written is addressed to individual persons, acting according to their own judgment after they read whatever it is that I write and what other people write, because no one has ever solved the race problem. And that is the goal that I set out to do, actually solve the race problem, not to make a contribution to making things a little better here and a little better there within the prison system. No, to get rid of this bogus prison system, because the system of white supremacy is an illegitimate prison system for people of color. You want to get rid of the entire system, not just peck around at it. And so we don't know what the formula is for doing that. Rather, no one has proven that they know yet. Why? Because the system of white supremacy is still the most powerful government on the planet. And so the brainiest people, I mean, there are presidents who have come and gone, and I guess emperors who have come and gone, who presumably all types of priests and preachers and whatnot, religious people of different religions, and say, oh, yes, I mean, let's address this race problem, because it is a real, it's a real cancer. I mean, this shouldn't be, but nobody can claim that they have come up with a solution yet. Now, sometimes people say that they have the solution, but they can't get people to listen to them. Well, that means you don't have the solution, because part of the problem is to get people to listen to you. That's part of my problem. And even though even if everybody listened to me and acted on what I'm saying, I can't guarantee that it will work. Why? Because it's never been done. So you can't give people guarantees about anything that's never been done. The race problem has never, ever been solved by the smartest people on this planet who have taken it on. All the people who have come and gone have come and gone, and the race problem is still here. So it takes some real thought. I mean serious thought when you start talking about solving the race problem. Some years ago, a person told me, Fuller, you might as well give up. The race problem cannot be solved. It can only be discussed.
Thank you.
And then I thought about that, and I said, hey, if it can't be solved, there's no point in discussing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe it can be solved.
All righty. Thank you for your call, caller. TalkTameItRadio.com. We go where you go, and you can check us out on WCRS-FM 98.3 Wednesday and Sunday evenings. Blogs and podcasts are available. Download the TalkTameItRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. Our topic today is Stand By Your Work. We'll have more of that and more of your phone calls, and possibly we can get into some Gmails, all that and more, coming up next on TalkTameItRadio.com. Okay, TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go, and you can download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and the topic has been Stand By Your Work. And if you would like to call in, you can by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. And usually I don't do this, but on this particular case, I am going to allow this particular exception. I just received a Gmail from a person. I'm going to call him Mr. D. And he indicated, Mr. Fuller, that some of the people who are ripping off your work or are in official or rather copyright violation or infringement, he wants them or you to name out these people or to name these people so that other people will not buy their work and so forth. Now, how do you care to respond to that? Now, and before you answer that, first of all, do you authorize anybody else other than yourself to do your work, or have you given written authorization to somebody to produce your work other than yourself?
No, I haven't. And so Talktainment is the only arrangement that I have. I mean, at this time and in the past, I have never signed anything with anybody. And things that would require a signature in a legitimate and an upfront way, I say to whomever is out there. If it's something that would require a signature for it to be done in the correct manner, then just get my signature. That's not difficult to do if I agree to the arrangement, but no such arrangement has been made.
So you authorize nobody else.
I'm not familiar with all of the laws that govern copyright and plagiarism and etc.
But if somebody is plagiarizing your work or doing it as if they're in some kind of agreement with you, that is wrong?
But I haven't agreed with anybody to do that.
Okay.
See what I mean? And so I'm just saying anybody could be suspect because the white supremacists are steady working. They won't pay attention to what I'm doing unless it's becoming effective. And some people are telling me that some of the things that I'm trying to do is becoming effective. People say that, I'm getting more and more listeners and all like that.
Yes.
All right, that means that the white supremacists get busy.
Yes.
If they don't do it themselves, they'll put other black people up to doing certain things. Now, I don't know what these things are, except that anything strange that seems to be coming up that involves the use of my name should be suspect. And then the people who are doing whatever they're doing can explain themselves to the public. I mean, why should they hide? They should just explain what they are doing and why they are doing it. And if they intend to make some money, if they say, well, I'm just looking for a way to make some money off of whatever Neely Fuller is doing or anybody else is doing. I need money. I can understand that.
Yes.
But I'm saying it shouldn't be done if anybody who's taken that position. And then there are other people who are sincerely trying to help to get the word out. They believe in what's being said. Here on Talktainment, I mean, there are people who have called in who have said that, they referred other people to Talktainment. And they say, go to Talktainment or go to Mr. Fuller's website.
Right.
ProduceJustice.com.
So those
he has a website.
So those are the only two, TalkTainmentRadio.com and then ProduceJustice.com.
Right, and every now and then there are some AM, FM radio programs that I do, like Straight Talk and whatnot.
Yeah, Straight Talk Live, yes.
Right, Straight Talk Live.
Okay.
And this is AM, FM radio. But outside of that, I don't do anything except I used to do some public speaking, and people recorded me there, but a lot of people didn't let me know that they were doing it. And then the people who did record me never got back to me and said what they had plans for.
Right.
They could do that.
All right.
If they have recorded me, they have assembled libraries and all like that, and they say, well, since I got all of this from Mr. Fuller, I mean, under the law of compensation, you know, I will see to it that he's at least notified as to what I'm doing,
Yes,
and how I'm doing it, and how he will be a part of the compensatory. Yes,
right. I like
receiving
like
compensation.
you said,
That's all. I mean,
under the law of compensation, if they have these, as you just referred to, as libraries or things like that, then you should be compensated for
Yes.
that if they are using that.
yes, if
Okay.
they're using it to, you know, they say, well, I'm going to make this a money-making enterprise as far as my interest is concerned.
Right.
Well, a person might make that decision. So if they decide to make it a money-making enterprise and they believe in justice, you know, I guess, and they say that, hey, I like what Neely Fuller is saying, and I believe in justice too, and I believe that justice should be established, then a part of justice is compensatory law.
All right.
It's right there on the cover of the book itself.
So to eliminate confusion, either go through, listen to it through talktainmentradio.com, which we have the archives of your work, or producejustice.com. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. There you have it. There you have it, D. Right there, those two. As far as those other people that are doing these things, if you go to talktainmentradio.com or producejustice.com, then you won't have that confusion about whoever these people are. I have some names, but I don't know altogether what's going on with that. But I do know if you go to producejustice.com or talktainmentradio.com, that will eliminate all the confusion. Let's go to the phone lines. Line number 1. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Fuller and Mr. Bobby. I have a humble suggestion and a question. I am aware of some of the stuff you're talking about. I will say I learned of Mr. Fuller. I bought his books. I learned of him from the internet. But now I listen to Produce Justice. Hopefully, you all can work with people. People can work with you in a constructive way to help spread the message. You know, I hope that folks can work together. My question is, I'm a black person, and through observation, I look at other black people, and we are primitive as compared to white people in getting things done. My question is, what's the quickest way for me to become sophisticated to get things done?
Mr. Fuller?
Oh, well, that's a broad question. I mean, I guess if I understand what you're saying, you just get things done based on what needs to be done. I always say it's all about 2 words, problem solving. And black people, non-white people throughout the world, should wake up in the morning and go to bed at night with one thing in mind, that they are going to become a vehicle for problem solving, not problem making. And you would see a transformation among all of us, I mean, instantaneously. Now, I'm tempted to use the cliche overnight, but I mean instantaneously that can happen. That can happen right this minute. If you just say that every move that I make is going to be about problem solving, not problem making. I'm not in the business of making problems. I'm in the business of solving problems, and there are plenty of problems to be solved. I mean, you don't even have to leave right where you are right this minute. You can look around you, and there's something to be done, something that has to be corrected or should be corrected, right within your view, right where you are. And that's all every person of color, non-white person, victim of white supremacy, whatever you might call it, call yourself. You can look around in this system that we have of where problems are being made hand over fist all the time. And so you don't have to look for to see something that needs to be corrected. So if we just get in the correction business, I see something that needs to be corrected, something that needs to be moved, something that needs to be rearranged, something that needs to be eliminated. something that needs to be instituted. We need to build something. You can look around you. I mean, right this minute, there's some small things, and then there are many, many large things. The larger thing is the system of racism itself has to be replaced with the system of justice. That's the big goal. But just the ordinary things that you do every day. Say, what's the best way to go about solving this particular problem? So you start with thought, then you start with the next thing is speech, how you speak to people, and how you get things done, because you probably might have to involve other people, so it's how you speak to everybody. You have to speak correctly and speak with the best of intentions, and make sure you have your words orchestrated in such a way that you minimize conflict and misunderstanding. And don't make contact with people, period, unless you have something constructive to say. All contacts between one person and another, that's a rock solid part of the code. That includes kinfolks and whatnot. Unless you have a constructive plan, a constructive reason for contacting anyone on your cell phone or anything, just don't contact people just to be rambling or whatnot, just to be making contact. Well, I just thought I'd make contact with you and see what's happening. That should stop. No. Have a constructive reason for contacting anybody that you contact, and as soon as that constructive reason is completed, your reason for contacting that person, just one person, break off that contact immediately afterwards. Why? Because we all carry poison. And when you don't have a very specific, constructive reason for contacting any other person on this planet, and we all like to make contacts, we're socially oriented.
Okay.
But anytime we make these contacts, make sure that it's for a constructive reason.
All right.
Otherwise, don't make the contact. I don't care how long it takes. Mm-hmm. Think of something constructive in order to contact this one other person. Okay. That'll solve a lot of problems.
TalkTameItRadio.com. We go where you go, and you can download the TalkTameItRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our topic today is Stand By Your Work. And if you have a comment or a question, you may do so by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. Let's go to the Gmails. Let's see here. Let me get the screen up here. It says, Mr. Fuller, good morning. On the topic of movies that offer suggestions about how non-whites should become more constructive in a system of white supremacy, I would like to suggest the movie Iron Man. In this film, Robert Downey Jr. plays Tony Stark of Stark Industries. He was an egotistical womanizer with an addiction to money and fame until one day he was captured in a military convoy that was blown up by an IED. When in custody, of the enemy, and he was an engineer. He built a device into his chest to prevent shrapnel from hitting his main arteries. He was asked to build a weapon for his enemies. Instead, he built the first Iron Man suit, a weapon, to escape the enemies. Are you familiar with the film? This is from Harry. Mr. Fuller?
No, I'm not familiar with the film at all. I have not seen it, and I don't even think I've heard of it until now. But all movies can be looked at, I guess. I've never looked at all movies and whatnot. I don't keep up with most of the latest ones. So many of them are put out so often all over the world now. So many people are making movies. I'm familiar with just a few, mostly going back, some of them, to the 1940s and 1950s, which are some of the movies that I remember most that had lessons. Treasure of Sir Marjorie, Officer and a Gentleman.
Yes.
I mean, it came out in the 1970s. And these are just movies in passing. I mean, but generally speaking, I say You can look at any movie, but always look at it with the intent of now, what lesson that I'm going to learn, or lessons that I am going to learn from looking at this movie, that when I walk out of this theater, or when I get up from looking at it on my television set, from a DVD and whatnot, what will I have learned that I can put to constructive use?
Okay.
That's the bottom line on looking at anything. If you go to see a stage play, same thing. When you walk out. Now, did I really, the people that put this thing together, and I looked at it, did I learn anything that I can use of constructive value? Or did I learn a whole bunch of nonsense about this, is not going to help me do anything, or in my opinion, help anybody to do anything that makes sense?
Okay.
That's the questions that you ask.
Okay.
Always look for the constructive lesson, something that you can learn.
Well, okay. Well, here's one you can answer before we go to the phone line. Just from Victor. He just wanted to know, is Mr. Fuller all right? I sent an order for his new book, but I haven't heard from him. Mr. Fuller, Victor wants to know, are you all right?
Am I all right about what? About sending books out?
I'm just reading it just the way he said it.
And he said, am I all right
about... Is Mr. Fuller all right? I sent an order for the new book. I haven't heard from him. That's all he has on it, and he said thanks.
Oh, well.
So are you all right?
Well, go back to producejustice.com.
Okay.
And see what happened there, because that's not supposed to happen ever.
Okay.
It does happen. People have notified me that sometimes it happens. They didn't get their book. But there are glitches sometimes in the system.
Okay.
An incorrect zip code has been a serious problem.
Okay.
Sometimes people have a 7 that looks like a 2.
Exactly. I've run into that myself.
Yes, and that happens quite frequently.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Line number 1. Okay. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Brother, may I make a comment, please?
Go ahead.
These assassinations we are seeing on camera, they are not by accident. It's all by design. They are showing us in the world that black people are not worthy of life, that they need to be eliminated. They need to be done away with. This is why we are seeing these images. These images are going to continue until the final assault. I'm not going to suggest to people that we can stop what's coming down the pipe. What I would suggest to people, what I always suggest to them, if you can get your young loved ones out of here, or if you can escape, get out. They are going to exterminate millions of black people. I'm not saying there's no perfect country to go to. White supremacy do run the world, like Mr. Fuller say. But it doesn't mean that you might not can go somewhere and live out your life, or your child might not get a chance to grow up. But right here, our time is up. It is moving fast, and this is what they are doing. And that Uncle Tom at the UN, it just makes you sick. I can't even watch it. It's just sickening. He's up there talking about human rights, black people being shot down on camera by law enforcement. And this Uncle Tom up there talking to the world about human rights and doing right about people. We can't survive this kind of conduct. You must escape if you can.
All right.
Thank you, brother.
All right, my brother. Thank you. Let's go to line number 2. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.
Hello, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. I had a question. Mr. Fuller, I know you usually speak and say that white people are usually suspects of white supremacy, but I'm wondering, how do you identify them? Like when you're interacting with white people, what are ways to identify if a person is actually a white supremacist?
Oh, according to the code, just one criteria in a system of white supremacy. Any white person, this is it, just one. Any person classified as white and functioning as white. First of all, you ascertain whether or not the person is classified and functioning as white, because a lot of black people look like they are white people. All right? So you don't want to get that confusion. So is the person really a white person? If the person says, I'm a white person, I'm genuine, I'm the real article, I'm not a phony, I'm really a white person, everything is white about me, all right, I'm classified as white, all of my paperwork says that I'm white, whatnot, okay, etc. Now, so you make certain of that first. And if that is the case, in a system of white supremacy, that makes the person, the next criteria is the person who is classified as white and functioning as white able to be a white supremacist? In other words, can they do things against a person of color? They're able to do it. Now, the code says, if this is the case, any white person who is able to be a racist in a system of racism is automatically, probably, a racist. You must make that assumption until you find out differently from the things that the person does. And that's an individual judgment.
Individual.
And
yes,
another thing, one person, one non-white person cannot go to another non-white person and say that a particular white person is not a racist. The code does not allow that. In other words, I'll give an example. If a black person comes to me and say, Fuller, I want you to meet George here. George is my white friend, and George is definitely not racist. He hasn't got to use a cliche, a racist bone in his body. I've known him since I was a little boy. I mean, since we were both little boys. And he stood up for me all the way. And he's proven to me, my friend George here, he's white. He's proven to me over and over and over again, he's definitely not a racist, Fuller. So you can take my word for it. George is not a racist. Out of all of these people who are pretending not to be racist, but they are, I mean, George ain't one of them. So I'm telling you, you don't have to check him out. I've already cleared him. Well, the code says, well, out of all due regard for your assessment of George, this is what I tell the black person who came to me with this message and introduced me to George. George is standing right there. I'll say, well, out of all due regard for what you just told me about your friend George, I am duty-bound by compensatory codified logic to have Mr. George prove it all over again to me that he is not a racist.
Right.
I cannot take your word for it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the racists are the most deceptive people that the world has ever seen.
That's right.
The white supremacists know how to deceive people. They'll work on it for years. I mean, they got a lot of patience. All
Yes.
right? So the whole technique is just like they did with Captain John Smith, you might say, and Pocahontas. I mean, hey, get one of these black people and work on that black person and prove to that one black person that you are not a racist.
That's right.
I mean, you shed blood right alongside of them and all like that.
All right.
To prove it, if necessary.
Okay.
And that way you can have that black person gather in 2,000 or 3,000 black people.
Okay.
See what I mean?
Let's get this in before we close out the first hour. There's a people or some person that I'm not going to call his name out, but he wanted me to drop the names of these people who are allegedly or could be or suspected of not getting your word out or are counterfeit. Well, I'm not going to do that because, as you mentioned, the word being suspect and could be people that are trying to distort your work. But we're not going to do that, and I'm not going to do that. But if they were to do that and wanted to contact you on them names, Mr. Fuller, would you do that? Would you give them?
Would
Would
I
you give
put people's names out
No, or
on a
would you give
broadcast?
this? No, not on broadcast. If they called you and wanted to know who it was.
Well, people can send me emails saying
Okay.
anything,
There-
but
okay.
I am not going to accuse anybody
There
of
you
doing
go.
anything
There you go.
based on somebody's whims or
right.
somebody's guesswork.
Exactly.
And if anybody finds that somebody is breaking some kind of law or something like that, they can act on their own.
There you go.
If they want to be of help,
If they want to
that
be of
person
help.
can act on his or her own.
Okay.
Just like if I see someone shoot somebody, I can act on my own to report that shooting.
Okay, there you go. Act on your own. TalkTameRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, the way it should be heard.
You got the power.
Second hour of the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is Radio the Way It Should Be Heard. Very good first hour, good calls, good emails, so thank you for all that, because you are listening to the world's greatest radio, TalkTameRadio.com. Radio, the way it should be heard. You can get in contact with the show by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me, if some of you have, at the 7mrbobby@gmail.com. Yes. Mr. Fuller is the author of the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. It is a compensatory counter-racist code. And you can get that book by going to producejustice.com. And while we're on that subject, Mr. Fuller, of your book, what else is on that website that people can get?
Or they can get information basically just about the textbook and how it's broken down. I mean, everything is about, that I have to say, is about what I say on TalkTameRadio.com and the other radio stations, like I said, the AM, FM. But the epicenter of everything that I have to say is in the textbook.
So if anybody wants information, they can go to TalkTameRadio.com for your information, or ProduceJustice.com?
Or go to the textbooks.
Yes.
ProduceJustice.com.
Okay.
And then turn to the pages and go from there. I mean, this is what I have to say. And, in that way is not all confused, I guess.
Exactly.
I'm trying to minimize confusion because in the front of both of the books, or rather one book is an extension of another, but on the opening page I say, if you do not understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will confuse you. So I'm trying to minimize confusion.
Yes. So they can go to any other website that they would choose to go to, but if they want the official information, they can go to ProduceJustice.com. Or they can,
or TalkTameRadio.com.
Just as simple as that.
And if there's any confusion, they can call in on Talk Tame It Radio, just like people are doing now.
Right.
And, and whatever I say, I may sometimes get it all garbled and whatnot, and people may hang up their phone and still not understand what the answer was that I tried to give them, but I do my best, and maybe they can come back and say, hey, what you told me the last time, Fuller, I still don't get it.
Okay.
So I'll try to go over it again.
Yes, sir.
I mean, because one thing we're supposed to be eliminating in this endeavor to straighten out all these problems, to solve these problems.
Mm-hmm.
You can't solve problems if you got confusion.
Confusion, yes.
You have to eliminate the confusion.
Right.
That's a must.
Right.
And the white supremacists are working full time to spread more confusion than they have already spread, which is considerable.
Yeah. Whew. Let's go to the phone lines, and let's see here. Line number 1, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Mr. Fuller, I would like to know if you have a suggestion. I do have your book. It's a wonderful book. In the workplace, which is the source of most of my problems with racist white supremacists, I would like to know why they seem to have a honing device about who I am. I can try to be in agreement, I can try to be working hard with them and trying to not be resistant toward them, but it's something about me. They seem to detect somehow that I am interested in counter-racism, no matter what I do or what I say. So it's interesting that I'm trying to function, also trying to be a counter-racist, and also trying to get along with my adversary, the white supremacist, so that I can live. But they always seem to detect that I'm somebody who, quote, bears watching. Can you suggest a way to maneuver around that?
Are you saying they're trying to detect what?
So they seem to detect that I do understand the system. It doesn't matter what I do, whether I'm trying to work hard with them or whatever I'm trying to do. They do seem to discover somehow that I do have counter-racist understanding.
And that, in your opinion, makes a problem for you?
It makes a problem because once people are looking at you, it's hard for you to go up the ladder, so to speak. They seem to want to prevent you from growing and earning more income. They don't want to help you, is what I'm trying to say. No matter.
Well, that's to be expected. I mean, the short answer to that is that's to be expected. That goes with the territory. If a person is a racist, naturally, they don't want you to put them out of business as being practicing racism. I mean, so therefore, it comes down to what do you do in reaction to their reaction. That's the question. So all problems are solved through what? The process of questions and answers. So, like I have in the textbook, the revised and expanded edition, there are 4 basic questions. Each and every day, these questions will apply. Each and every minute of each and every day. Just lock on to these 4 questions. What do you want to do? You can ask the person, if it's an individual person, or ask a group of persons. You're at a meeting, in the workplace. What do you want to do? Everybody wants to do something. Every minute of every day, every waking moment, people want to do something. They want to get up and walk across the room and use the pencil sharpener. That's a want. Or they want to go here, they want to go there, they want to pick up the phone and they want to call so-and-so. Everybody wants to do something. So, you say, if you're talking to an individual person that's sitting there having a conversation, first thing you want to know is, Miss Graham, if that's the lady's name or whatever. I'll give an example. What do you want to do? And and don't help her with the answer. Let her tell you what she wants to do. Then the next question is, why do you want to do it? Because it might be something that she wants you to do. And then you can ask the question, okay, what you want me to do something. Why do you want me to do what it is you want me to do? Because everything is about doing. See, I mean, not just about feeling, it's about doing. Don't pay any attention to the feelings.
Yes.
Get down to the doing part, because that's the part that's going to really count, the doing part.
Yes.
Okay? Why do you want me to do it? Then the third question, how do you plan to do it? Or how do you plan for me to do it? What is the plan? Got to have a plan if you're going to do something. If it's just walk across the room and use the pencil sharpener, you got to have a plan for doing it. And the plan is to get up out of the chair, walk across the room, and use the pencil sharpener. That's the plan in order to sharpen the pencil. Okay? And number 4, and this is really all of the questions are important, but this is the bottom line question. Number 4, what do you expect the constructive result to be? Now lock that in. That's already in the textbook, but I've given it to you over there and given it to everybody else who's listening. I mean, you can do that all day, every day, wherever you happen to be, anywhere in the world, those 4 questions will always apply. And it will get right to where you need to go. Oh. It'll take you right where you need to go, and particularly that bottom line question.
Yes, sir.
What do you expect the constructive result to be? Underline constructive.
Underline. Okay, let's go to Brazil. This is Larry from Brazil. He says, in most cities I've been around in this country, Mr. Fuller, the white supremacists promote and make sure racial mixing is praised between non-white people and poor white people. A lot of non-white people are led to believe that marrying and having children with a white person is the superior move for a better life. Of course, it results in nothing but confusion amongst the non-white people around here. Black people are slowly breeding themselves out of existence, and I sincerely don't see this situation getting any better. Could you, Mr. Fuller, speak a little bit about this issue? Thank you.
It's in the textbook. It's a part of the white supremacist plan. Now, a lot of black people have been confused by this because I was confused by it for many years. In fact, I said the solution to the race problem is that for everybody, white and non-white, just jump in bed. Jump in that bed and have sex unlimited. And then the race problem would just solve itself on its own. Because when people having sex and having sex and having sex and being close to each other, I mean in a sexual manner, we can solve the race problem through sexual intercourse. That is the way to go. I used to believe that. And then I said, no, that's not solving anything. It's causing more confusion. Why? Because it's all done and controlled under the system of white supremacy. Now, if there was no system of white supremacy, that may be true. I don't know whether that would work or not. But I do know it's not working under the system of white supremacy. And so, therefore, it's got to stop.
Got to stop.
Yeah, just get out of that bed and take care of business first, or take care of the economics first.
That's right.
I mean, in other words, even birds know you got to build your nest first.
Come on, man, say it.
And then you have sex in the nest. But if you haven't built the nest, I mean, that doesn't work. You're going backwards.
Man,
in other words, you're putting the, what is the cart before the horse?
Yeah.
I mean, no, this is procedure. I mean, every female understands that. She'll tell a guy in a nightclub, I mean, get your hands off of me. Let's have a conversation first. I mean, before we get to the bedroom.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you don't even know my name. I mean, feeling on me and whatnot. No. Take your hands off and let's talk. Let's get to know each other. Let's take care of the business first. Pleasure second. But the white supremacist says, oh, no, we'll just jump in bed, have a whole bunch of mixed breed babies, and then we'll settle the race problem somewhere down the line. No, settle the race problem first.
There's an order or protocol.
Yes, that's an order of protocol. That's a logical procedure for everything, and that's not the correct procedure.
Okay. Talk to Him at Radio is a 24/7, no-charge, worldwide broadcasting facility that have hosts delivering on various topics, such as news, lifestyle, sports, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's one that I'd like to share with you again, and I shared it in the first hour. It's called It's Your Time to Travel. Host Ricky Tyus of Tyus Tours and Travel, along with Perrine Hill of Perrine and Associates, specializing in special events and tours, have both been in the travel industry over 20 years. Both Tyus Tours and Travel and Special Events and Tours offers individuals with many travel options. Using their expertise, they will find amazing getaways and vacation packages full of fun and excitement that will provide you with 4- and 5-star guest experiences that exceed your expectations, but do not your budget. They will discuss and share a variety of destinations around the world to suit every dream and every budget. Now, this show broadcasts live on Tuesdays, and it is exclusive on TalkTainMentRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. Phone number here is 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7MrBobby@gmail.com. Let's go to the phone line. Which one, Ed? Line number one, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question? Go ahead. Hello? Okay, line number two? Okay, line number two, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Oh, hello, Bobby. How are you doing, sir?
Good,
Mr.
sir.
Fuller? You know what, Mr. Fuller? A lot of your listeners really don't understand this, but everything that you've been saying over the years on this program is actually in the Bible. And I'm not going to preach. I'm just going to go to one scripture to prove that everything that you say that you've been saying is in the Bible. It's 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 18 through 20. We're talking about Christ entering in this prison, preaching to these spirits, which was sometimes disobedient. Well, first of all, this prison in the scripture is America. And those spirits that are in that prison for being disobedient is the black man and the black woman of America. Now, I know people listening to me saying, well, wait a minute. How can we be spirits? Well, for getting on Mr. Fuller's logic, first of all, you got to think about it like this. If Christ is a man, why would he be in a prison talking to somebody who's invisible? No, those spirits in that prison in 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 18 through 20 are spirits that just happen to be covered in flesh, the black man and the black woman of America. And the white supremacists are the ones who control all the information coming into that spirit and coming into that prison. So, you know, I'm not going to get any deeper than that. But anyway, you right on topic, Mr. Fuller, and I'll hang up and let somebody else call in. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you for your call. Mr. Fuller, you care to comment?
No, except to say that, like I always say, what the gentleman just said, people can review it themselves.
Yes.
And think about what he said, go over it in detail, and see if they can use it to think, speak, and act in a manner that produces a constructive result.
Okay.
Right. See, I mean, anybody's input may work.
Yes.
No one has solved the race problem.
Okay.
So you can use any information that you think might help.
Alrighty.
To replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice.
Let's go to the Gmails. It says here, please, Mr. Bobby, please do not ask Mr. Fuller if he's training someone before he dies. It's gosh. It's rude. It's disrespectful. And he used the N-word. Above all, he is an older gentleman who has offered us the greatest of gifts, mainly free knowledge of self and society. He deserves respect. Well, I wasn't aware that I was disrespecting. I was just reading somebody's Gmail, but if I were disrespecting you, Mr. Fuller, I certainly didn't mean that, but maybe this particular person who didn't really give his name but gave his handle said that I was. But do you feel that I'm disrespecting you, Mr. Fuller?
No,
okay.
Absolutely
All
not.
righty.
Let me say this about that word respect.
Okay.
See, I gave it to myself because what do I say about respect in the code? Respect is something that you always give to yourself. It's impossible to get it from somebody else anyway. Even if I wanted it from somebody else and somebody wanted to give it to me, there's no way to give it to me because what is respect in its essence? Respect is refusing to lie to yourself. And I used to do some of that. I think all of us have done some of that. I mean, it's just something unpleasant that we don't want to deal with, so we tell ourselves something we know is not true.
Yes, sir.
That's the worst thing that a person can do to him or herself. All respect is just one kind, self-respect. Once you get it, you got it. Nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can disrespect you. That's impossible once you give it to yourself. So what is respect? Respect is not what you call courtesy. Courtesy is courtesy. But respect is refusing to lie to yourself and letting everybody else know that you are not going to lie to yourself. And you got it. Once you lock that in, you never have to even deal with that word respect ever again. It's impossible for anybody to disrespect you once you tell yourself that you're not going to lie to yourself.
All righty.
That's it.
Okay. All right, let's go to line number one. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Good morning, Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller. My question pertains to the recent race soldier killings. Do you believe, Mr. Fuller, that the race soldier killings are increasing, or is it due to technology that they're just receiving more coverage than previously before?
Well, see, all white supremacists are race soldiers anyway. So they are always killing non-white people, even as we speak. Every now and then you hear something about Zika. That's suspect. You hear something about Ebola. You hear something about lead in the water.
Yes.
You hear something about a whole town having, being poisoned. Now, this is not extermination of non-white people. The white supremacists, according to compensatory logic, if they wanted to kill the black people of this planet, we'd have been gone. That's my assessment. I could be in error about that, because the only thing that could prevent that would be whatever created us. And so the white supremacists have always killed, and are, as we speak right now, huge numbers of non-white people. I mean, killing them, keeping a lot of them from even being born, and killing many of them, millions, right after they're born. I mean, they don't get past 2 or 3 years. They do this on a regular basis, poison the water and all like that. And they know, hey, when these babies come here, they're not going nowhere. They're going to be dead in 2 years. That mother's going to be walking around trying to nurse that baby, with her frail body, because she's undernourished herself. And she's going up and down the fields and whatnot, in different parts of the world and whatnot, trying to get food, running here and there, going across the deserts and whatnot. And she's got 5 babies. She's going to lose 3 of them. I already know that. The white supremacists are saying to themselves, we already know that. We know how many of them are going to die before they're even born, because we're going to see to it that they're going to be dead in a very short period of time. And we're going to give others guns, see to it that they kill each other. So that's an ongoing thing. I mean, there's no way to prevent that in the system of white supremacy. Mm-hmm. But what are they doing? They're not exterminating. When you exterminate, that means none left. The white supremacists, if they got down to where they just had 500 black people left on the planet, they would do everything they can to keep those 500 alive. Yes. I mean, that's what white supremacy is about. How are you going to be supreme over people and there are no people to be supreme over?
Good question.
Yes. I mean, that's the logic of it. So what they want to do is tailor the population. They'll say, well, let's check out the area that we call the Congo. I'm giving this as an example.
Yes, sir.
Oh, let's see now. The population seems to be increasing there. And it's bad for our business. See, white supremacy is a business. They say, and those people will begin to get stirred up, and they'll begin to think about doing something about disrupting our business. So let's, for the next 5 years, let's cut that population in half. And we'll do this by starting some mess among them, yes, some tribal mess or whatnot, or we'll poison some more water, or we will flood them out, or we'll have them die in some kind of mysterious whatever, disease or whatever, that we will plant there. We got whole bottles on the shelves of every kind of disease you can name, so we can wipe it out, a certain number of population. And so they'll get their heads together and say, well, how many do you think we should take out in the next 12 years? Well, let's see. We'll just make it half. And so they'll make it half. And when they reach that halfway mark, then they'll just cut it off. They'll say, Eureka, we found a cure for this particular disease. Well, they had it on the shelf right alongside the disease that they generated in the first place. So they just get out all those bottles and take it there. Now, the people are spending all their money for this medicine, by the way, because they tell them, well, this medicine is expensive now, but it will cure your disease. So the money that they were going to use to build some factories and have people have jobs and all like that, that had to be used to cure the disease. See, the white supremacists got it all figured out.
Yes.
They figure out everything well in advance, 100 years in advance. So that's the way they operate. So, they're not going to exterminate.
Right.
non-white people. Why? To put them out of business as white supremacists. They like it like it is.
Exactly. Okay, let's go to another phone call. Line number 2. You are on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Good morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. How are you doing today?
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, my question for Mr. Fuller is, when I tend to talk to non-white people, when we exchange views on the system of white supremacy, we always, we come around to that good intended white person situation. They say, oh, well, all white people's not bad. Which in cases, I believe not all white people are bad. But my question, Mr. Fuller, is if that's the case, they got to play a role, I would think, in the system of white supremacy. And I wanted to ask Mr. Fuller, what role do he think the good intended white people play in the system of white supremacy?
Well, I always tell every white person, and I address this worldwide right now, right this minute, every white person who's interested in eliminating racism and replacing it with justice, first of all, you don't have to talk to me. Talk to the other white people. They're the ones, the white supremacists themselves, that live right next door to you, the one sitting right across the table from you, right there in your house. Talk to them, and this business will be over.
Mm-hmm.
All this system of white supremacy, they don't have to come among white people. This thing of coming among non-white people, rather. This business of a white person coming around saying, what can we do to help you downtrodden people, to help you misuse people, to help you abuse people? What can we white people do? I'm a good white person. I really have your interests at heart. What can I do to help your little boys and girls and whatnot?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to have a better life. Tell me all about it. No, don't check with the victims, with the prisoners. Check with the warden, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Go up there and tell the warden that he's running a bogus prison and get him. I mean, this is the guy that lives next door to you, the guy that you go fishing with and hunting with and talking about world affairs with. Talk to him. If he's a racist and you say that you are not, I don't have to know anything about the conversation. Why? Because the system of white supremacy is already in place. And if you want to get to the source of the system, you talk to somebody who's white, not somebody black. We victims don't know anything. If we knew anything, we wouldn't be in the shape that we were in. So you can talk to the people who know what's going on. We're trying to find out what's going on.
Yes.
That's why we always saying what's happening and never getting an answer.
Yeah, if I could, real quick, Mr. Bobby, interject this. Also, when I have conversation with non-whites, Mr. Fuller, a lot of them tend to say, well, they love white people. They say, I love white people. I don't see nothing wrong with them. They're nice people. And, is that because of our programming throughout the years that we don't suspect them of anything?
Well, we don't really have to deal with the question. What does that mean? So you love white people. If a person says that, love means justice. So, you love anybody who's producing justice. No problem there.
Pardon
All
me.
right, but who's producing justice?
Right. Pardon me for interrupting, but I have to. They're giving me the signal. I have to go to break. Sorry about that, but thank you for calling. Talktainment Radio. You're welcome. Talktainmentradio.com. We go where you go, and you can check us out on WCRS FM 98.3 Wednesday and Sunday evenings. Blogs and podcasts are available. Okay, welcome back to TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go, and you can download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and we've been on topic today about stand by your work, and Mr. Fuller has mentioned that several times, not only on this show, but on other shows, and we've specifically been talking about people who are doing some things. These people could be suspect to white supremacists. They could be other people doing copyright infringements and all sort of things. We do not name the names of those people. But this is what Mr. Fuller said to cut down on confusion. All you have to do is go to talkteamitradio.com or producejustice.com for any official information that you need to get from Mr. Fuller. Now, I'm aware that there are other people and other sites that are out there, but every time you click on those sites, let me just say this, and Mr. Fuller may not know this, but they get money for all those hits, okay? It's about money, okay? It's about money, and that's why they do that. And some of them have used webmasters to have multiple websites that keep directing you to that. Now, we're not going to get into the names of these people that are doing this stuff, but if Mr. Fuller is not being compensated for this type of activity, if in fact it is going on, then that's not right. So this is why we said, and Mr. Fuller stated, to go to either talkteamitradio.com for anything that Mr. Fuller has to say, or producejustice.com. And that's all you need to do. All the other sites, well, that's on you. You can do it that way. Anyway, 1-877-932-9766 is the number you can call, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. We go to line number 3. Okay, line number 3. What is your question for Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.?
Mr. Fuller, how you doing? Mr. Bobby, how's it going?
Okay, go ahead,
I
sir.
just wanted to share this story. And I practice some of the compensatory logic whenever I talk to people. And one thing I realized, when somebody makes an opinionated statement or tries to make whatever they have as fact or truth, I go in and I take certain words they use and ask them the words or the definition of certain words. And when I get in that point of really tearing down what they're saying because their definitions are wrong, I always get this point of, well, I'm not getting into semantics. And I said, well, it's the semantics of the situation that's allowing you to control it, and we need to get the definition of your word. And my question is, why do they get defensive and throw up the word semantics when you start questioning them in a situation?
You can ask the person, why are you offended by a question, when all problems are solved by questions and answers?
Mm-hmm.
And you can ask the person that question. Just because Neely Fuller says it doesn't make it valid, but you can ask the person that you're talking to, are all problems solved through the process of questions and answers? Ask the person that you're talking to that question. See, because all I did, sir, was ask you a question. Because I believe that all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. So, and don't help the person with the answer. Don't argue about the answer. Just be ready with the next question.
Right.
See, that cuts down on argument. All problems are solved through the process of questions and answers, even on the moon. If you get on the moon, you gotta, you're there and you intend to get back. So now your question is, how do we get back?
How do we get back? Yes. All right. Thank you, sir, for your question very much. Okay. All right, Mr. Fuller, let's see here. This is from Anthony, and Anthony is from South Africa. He says, wait a minute, let me pull it up here right quick. Okay. It says, Mr. Fuller does not have the capacity to get his books beyond the borders, wilderness of North America, nor can he now get his voice beyond the borders. What does that say about this all? Anyway, and folks must realize to try and listen live is not only difficult because of the time elements and constraint, but in the South African context, we have one of the highest rates of internet broadband in the world. On another note, Mr. Bobby, can you please pass this message on to Mr. Fuller? Mr. Fuller, though I do respect your position of not wanting to be famous at all, and of course, it is the message of your book, your life's work, that is most important, but I need you to do something for me. As a postgraduate of an African university When I complete my master's early next year, I will be going immediately on to my PhD dissertation. One of the issues I will be dealing with my research is the system of Anglo racism, white supremacy. I want to use your work as a source along with others. It would be easier to carry much more weight if you were to accept an honorary doctorate from an institution such as, let's say, Howard, May of 2017. Perhaps you could be on the Rock Newman television program and all. Maybe even have a week of addressing the issue of racism, white supremacy. I'm sure someone in D.C., Washington, D.C. circles can make that happen. Think about it, Mr. Fuller, before you answer. And since I can no longer get your podcast through the channel I was hearing it over the internet here in South Africa, please let me know via Mr. Bobby in answering this Gmail what is possible. Then he attached his master proposal and all kind of things like that. So I guess what can you do for him, Mr. Fuller?
Well, I tried to decentralize the concept around myself because I say that the concept is nothing but logic, problem solving. I didn't invent problem solving. I mean, in fact, Neely Fuller hasn't solved very many problems, if any. I mean, my record shows that. I'm trying to do something. That's all. I'm just making a try. So I just like for people to point out the try that I'm making. That's all. But it's not centered around Neely Fuller as, the concept itself is universal. But I do like to have it compartmentalized into just my work. In other words, my work, I stand by my work.
Yes.
And then everybody else can stand by his or her work. But to make Neely Fuller some type of leader, no. The leader of logic is the creator of the universe. And every preacher, I mean, particularly in the Christian religion and in the Muslim religion, I believe, and in the Jewish religion, and I guess the different facets of the many, many facets, I understand, of the Hindu religion, says that we have a creator or creators. Some people have diverse gods, you might say. I mean, whatever. But Neely Fuller is not the center of the universe, and logic came with the universe. So just tap into the laws of the universe. That's what I usually try to use myself as just a signpost. I don't really invent anything. I've told people this. I don't invent anything. I just move words around, trying to point down the road to where I think everybody should be going. Everybody, white and non-white, and get off of this racial kick that has interrupted everything that has to do with anything that has decency to it, morality to it, if you want to use that word, and certainly constructive activity, not building up something just so you can be more destructive. That's what the white supremacists do. And that's an evil system. Just building up all kinds of modern things, coming up with all kinds of splendid gadgets and whatnot, and then try to figure out a way to use it to hurt somebody, rather than to make the world the type of place that it should have been in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
The system of white supremacy is just a disruptive system, no matter how sophisticated and glamorous it might be, because it has a lot of glamorous aspects.
Yes, sir.
And the white supremacists, material-wise, they know how to produce all kinds of material things, but they believe in destroying people. They make trash out of people.
Yes, sir.
And then laugh about it and think it's funny. And that's what we need to be stopping. Oh. And Neely Fuller is not the center of that.
Okay.
I mean, that should be done just out of pure logic.
Pure logic. Okay, TalkTameRadio.com. We go where you go, and you can download the TalkTameRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And we have been talking about on topic stand by your work, in particular copyright infringements and those that are doing stuff that they should not be doing, or at least compensating Mr. Fuller for that. But if you have a comment, you may do so, or question by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at mrbobby@gmail.com. Let's go to the phone lines. Line number 1. What is your question for Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.?
Hello, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Neely Fuller. I have one question and 2 quick comments. Can I do that?
You can ask your question, but we're up against time for the comments, so make it quick.
Okay, I'll make those quick.
Okay.
My first question, Mr. Neely Fuller, is: do you believe that white supremacy works off of the premise of cause and effect? So, in other words, they don't do something unless they know it works, and if it works, they're going to continue doing it until the victims change their behavior in a way that causes their actions to be ineffective.
Okay.
Do you believe that that's something that they do?
All right, Mr. Fuller?
Yes, everything that's successful is about cause and effect. I mean, whether it's people doing it or squirrels or birds. Birds measure cause and effect. Birds study aerodynamics, you might say, how the wind blows. You see a seagull, just hovering right over those waves. They're anticipating where the waves are going to be. And you'll see, I have been on ships, particularly when I was associated with the military. That was the only time I was. And I used to watch the seagulls and how they just hover right above the waves. And the waves would be giving off, I guess, air currents and whatnot. And sometimes they would just almost seem to stand still in the air. And then they would take off, and go in different directions. So this is all about cause and effect. And the white supremacists are the greatest scientists that the world has ever seen, because they definitely are into cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
They'll try this and try that. They'll say this. They go down there and talk to that black guy that we just hired here in the warehouse,
okay.
and study him and listen to what he says and figure out, where his mind is.
Right.
And then we will know how to talk to him and how to manipulate him and whatnot.
Okay. Let's give him at least one comment. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, one comment then. One thing I've realized is that, Barack Obama being the president of the United States, we understand that he too is a victim of racism. And we also understand that victims of racism, many of us are very afraid to ridicule him or chastise him based on some of the things he's done or has not done. But I see this as a danger, because if other black people become president in the future, if that's at all possible, this could be played out again, like what we're seeing right now. Whatever atrocities are being committed under Obama's leadership could actually transpire again, simply because we are not putting his feet to the fire or putting any kind of pressure around him to do something that is constructive for black people, if at all. And that goes for any president, but in particular a black president. If you continue to put a black face up, like Neely Fuller says, it's done it under the guise of deception. If you continue to put a black person in office, then this could be a danger, a continuous danger to black people. So that's my comment.
Okay.
I'll leave it there.
Thank you for your call. That could be, under VGQ, I guess it could be. I don't know. All right, Mr. Fuller, I have from the Gmails. It says, okay, Mr. Fuller, wait a minute. Okay. Mr. Fuller, I heard Mr. Fuller say, according to the code, if anyone knows that someone is being mistreated, that they should let everyone know who they are. Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
That's what it says. I heard Mr. Fuller say, according to the code, if anyone knows that someone is being mistreated, that they should let everyone know who they are. How say you to that?
Yes. People, if someone's being mistreated and you're aware of it, you point out the mistreatment. First of all, let the person know who is doing the mistreatment. let that person know that they are doing the mistreatment and how they are doing it. And then give instructions, if you can. I mean, if the person will listen to you and all like that. And also, if you're going to tell other people about the mistreatment that the person is meriting out, I mean, if it's a non-white person, that is, then you let that person know that you're going to tell everybody else that they're committing this mistreatment. That's what you do. If you are certain that this mistreatment is going on, if you have to, you're the one who is making the charge. See, I am reluctant to charge anybody with anything unless I really know what I'm talking about.
So I
don't mean guessing.
Right. So if you knew someone was deliberately messing with your work, with copyrights or whatever, if you knew this for a fact, what would you do? Would you point it out to everyone to let everybody know that this person...
the first thing I would do is talk to the person who is inflicting the mistreatment.
Yes.
Or try to get to the person.
Okay.
I mean, you always sometimes people are mistreating people and they're not aware of it.
Okay.
Okay. So I would let the person know exactly, talk to the person. Talk to the person. Whether the white person is white or non-white.
Okay.
You just talk to the person. If I think that a white person is mistreating me, I want to talk to the white person that's mistreating me, not talk to somebody else. Not have go-betweens all down the line. That's how you get confusion. Talk to the person and the person talk to you.
Okay.
And then you find out, back and forth and whatnot, and you make the assessment as to whether or not this is mistreatment. And sometimes you may not aware of what, you're being mistreated or how is you're being mistreated.
So with
lots of people are mistreated and they don't even know they are being mistreated.
So if someone that you know is giving you information that you are being mistreated or being misused, so would you yourself, as I understand it, try to get in contact with the person who has allegedly been doing this to find out if it's true or not true and then make the correction that needs to be done?
That's the thing that needs to be done.
Okay, I got it.
See, we don't want to increase conflict if you can avoid it.
Okay.
Particularly among victims of racism.
Right. Okay.
Or you minimize conflict. Minimize conflict.
Okay.
Now, the white supremacists, you always suspected whatever you say to them, if they're real white supremacists, they're not going to pay no attention to you anyway.
That they say
right.
it.
I don't care how pretty up they are. I mean,
right.
How they're doing it. If they're behind it or if they have anything to do with it in association with it, I mean, if they're dedicated to doing what they do, which is practice racism, they're going to practice racism.
They're going to do it.
I don't care how long you sit at the table talking to them.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's go to line number 3. Number 3, what is your question for Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.?
Hi. Well, I got a quick comment and then a couple of quick questions, real simple and quick. Under 45 seconds, I should be able to get this done. So my comment is, I want to tell you how I heard about the message that the compensatory code. And so basically, I listened to a guy who makes documentary films. He kept mentioning Neely Fuller's work. And I was like, wow, well, who is this person? Who is Neely Fuller? So what I did was I looked it up on YouTube. That's what I did. And I happened to come across some websites that were had some quotes by Mr. Fuller. And after I heard some quotes directly from Mr. Fuller, heard his voice, and I Googled his name and happened to come upon the website. And I actually, in the YouTube videos that I heard, he mentioned where to go to get his book. So that's what I did. And so that's how I heard about the compensatory code. And I've used it to teach my children and things of that nature. So my question number 1 is, do you have a problem with the way that I found you? And my question number 2 is, if you don't want people putting your voice on YouTube, will you produce a YouTube
channel so that the message can continue to come out, because that's how young people are finding it.
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
Well, see, I don't know about the particulars of all this. See, I don't know about the legalities. That's what I'm talking about. So someone who can do some research on the legalities, you know, because if something is illegal and a person wants to help, they can contact whomever is doing anything that's illegal. I don't have infinite time to chase down, this, that, and other, and I don't really want to do that. I'm trying to get the message out. I'm trying to do whatever will help. There are people who are trying to help, and then there are people who are not trying to help. Then there are people who are trying to undermine what I'm doing.
Yes.
The white supremacists particularly. And they don't have to try, really. They know how to do it, and they can get it done. And I'm quite sure that's in the works, but they'll only make a move. The white supremacists will only make a move if what they think that I'm doing is becoming effective. And you better believe I'm in big trouble. I am in big trouble once I become, in their minds, effective in trying to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. Because they got all kinds of ways of coming at me and all kinds of ways of just completely wiping out anybody who is trying to help me to do what I'm trying to do. But now, there might be some non-white people who are trying to help, but they're going about doing it in a way that's not legal in the eyes of the white supremacists who allow me to do what I'm doing. So that means that's got to be cleaned up if that's indeed what's happening, because I can't be a part of anything that's illegal. See, that's the connection. See, they'll say that, hey, Fuller doesn't have any problem with illegalities, because even the people who try to help him, they don't mind doing stuff that's illegal and against my laws. And he's always saying, like, when somebody gets pulled over, rather than go into what you call the ghetto drama by law enforcement officers and whatnot, he always says, don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee. And he says it not to accommodate the white supremacist system. He says it simply because it doesn't work. And it's the same way when it comes to doing any other kind of work, like resisting racism or recommending somebody to listen to a certain program or something like that. Does it work in the most constructive manner? All right. That's the main thing.
Right. Thank you, brother, for your call. Since you mentioned that, Mr. Fuller, in our remaining moments, I saw a video, and I don't know if you have, according to the news that was on one of the major outlets, a helicopter shot and even a ground shot of a black man who was, I guess his SUV had stopped or whatever, and he was walking with his hands up. He wasn't fleeing, he wasn't fighting, he wasn't fussing, but he was walking with his hands up. I want to say a police officer tased him, got him down to the ground, hands still up on the ground, and another officer, a female, shot and killed him. A father of 4. Don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee. They said he was trying to go for a weapon. The video showed that the window of the car was up, so he couldn't have possibly been going for that. But he was shot with his hands up, not fussing, not fighting, not fleeing. What say you on that?
That's to be expected. That's what I'm saying, because we are behind enemy lines in enemy territory. And even though, like I said, always look upon yourself as being looked upon as an enemy.
But doesn't that bother you to see something like that when he was actually really following the code? Don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee, and then he still got shot.
It bothers me, but not at the level of emotion. It bothers me that we do not understand that we're in a system of white supremacy and should expect to be shot every day, everywhere we are, for doing absolutely nothing but existing.
So when you take your daily walks, you're expecting you might get shot.
I expect to get killed because I am in a death camp.
Okay.
That's run by the entire world, is a death camp for anybody of color.
Yes.
In the system of white supremacy. expect any evil thing to happen to you at any time.
Gotcha.
Why? Because the white supremacists say, whatever I want to do with any of you people, I'll do it.
I can do it.
Nothing can stop me.
Radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio.